Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast, weekly news update edition. A few things to talk about tonight in regards to obviously signings, a couple of confirmed ones. We finally get to stop talking about Ben Hunt, so this is the last time we'll talk about him for probably at least a week or two, until who knows what happens. We then probably talk about him again once Ezra Mam situation sorts itself out. Couple of things just page-wise I'll quickly go over before we get straight into it with the boys. You've obviously seen a couple of days ago some of the new merch that has been launched. So I'm wearing one of them. It's, if you're watching on YouTube, it's got the back there. You got rocks in your head slogan. So I think for those that have watched me on Talking Power and a few times on here, seems to be a saying that I say a fair bit. There's been some calls for it, so I have released it. So yeah, go ahead, just message the page if you are interested. I've got limited sizing, so get in quick. I can do another order though, in terms of additional sizing and things like that, but just getting quick for those so I can get them to you by Christmas time is the plan. The second one is obviously the big one that was launched tonight, which I'm really proud and really happy to talk about a bit. Just in regards to the raffle in a way, so the ticketed giveaway. So it's for a 2022 signed jersey. Now, there's two giveaways. So there's a New South Wales version and then there's a Queensland version as well. So the whole team signed it for either jersey. They're crisp, they're clean. I've got them literally right next to me in the plastic and that still. Awesome product. It's something that I just want to do a bit different for the page. I know there's a number of rugby league pages out there. We all do the same thing. We talk about the same sort of stuff. This is sort of our identity, hopefully moving forward, to give something back to you guys. I know there's a lot of people out there that can't sort of afford these things. There's a lot of hard times out there. So for literally $5, you can get yourself a ticket. And the best thing is all the proceeds that I do get for this go back into grassroots footy, so junior footy. So really proud to do that and help out that sort of thing as well. So if you are a club or anything, you do need a little bit of help, please reach out to the page and we can chat a bit more. I'll see what I can do for you guys in terms of donating a dollar figure to you guys to help out. But yeah, get onto the page, go ahead. There's bank details and everything there. Buy as many tickets as you want, and it all goes towards a good cause in the end. And you can get yourself either a New South Wales or a Queensland jersey. But boys, that's that one done. You obviously all found out about that sort of news tonight as well. I kept that in the dark from everyone. Just quickly, Jesse, mate, pretty cool little thing.
Yeah, it's good, man. I'll give myself a couple of tickets. I don't have one of those. Nice to get a framed jersey up, see if I can take it out. I don't know if there's a bit of a conflict of interest there. I can definitely run and enter, surely. It's all going to a good cause.
Everyone's able to. It's a raffle, so you're allowed, everyone's 100%. Allowed in.
Yeah, well, got to be in it to win it. I got a nice spot on the wall that could do with a nice framed up jersey, so yeah. Good stuff, man. You did keep that a secret too. You did say that you've been, honestly, if everyone that's listened to, Joel's been, pumping all these things into the page, and he's keeping it from us. He's like, I've got this coming. You got to wait out and you see it. I'm so excited to mention this. Oh, you got to see. I'm trying to get a bit of info. It's like we get it at the same time as everyone else, so it's really cool. No, you did good with that, man.
That was one thing I had to keep a bit on the download, just in terms of I had to sort out a number of things out for it, obviously. A few laws and things like that as well. Jakey boy, just quickly on it, mate, get yourself a couple of tickets. Get yourself what? You're the New South Wales man as well. Get yourself a few for the Blues.
Yeah, no, look, I'm always happy to support a good cause, and especially if I have the chance to win something, why not?
Yeah.
But
awesome,
no, definitely. I was just going to say, definitely good idea. Oh yeah,
you're the Queenslander here, so you can get a few into the Queensland as well, and have a. I know there's a nice room in your house that's probably screaming for that sort of thing.
Yeah, there is. I'd probably pick the blue one though, just so I can burn it.
Dog.
Hey, $5 is cheap for toilet paper. I'm telling you now. Going to the shops and getting 100%. That the other day. That's a good deal.
And I'd get a few wipes out of it too.
Get out.
Yeah, and I'm about to mute him for the episode after saying that. But guys, there you go. If you want to go ahead, go onto the page, click on it, send through. If you become a Facebook subby, obviously we haven't spoken about that for a while, but if you do become a subby, you get double the entry. So whatever amount you put in and you're a subby to that Facebook subby group, you get double the entry. So a little bit of a advantage for being that. And then also share the status because you can get some 5 bonus entries into the draw as well. That's drawn once a week. So just make sure you share that around. All right, that's it. Let's talk about Ben Hunt has signed with the Brisbane Broncos on a 2-year deal effective immediately, obviously, because he currently was unemployed. So he's off to the Broncos, where he famously dropped that ball off the kickoff to the 2015 grand final. Back home, in a way, he was from the outset obviously sort of said he wanted to go back to Queensland. Felt like Broncos were always heavily favourites to land his signature. I always thought the Dolphins would have been a nice touch just to help them out a bit more, but that obviously hasn't happened. There's a few ways we can go with this, but I'll go to you boys to see where you want to take it first. I'll go to Trav now. Your thoughts around the Ben Hunt signing for the Broncos?
Thank bloody Christ it's over. Well, I'm so sick of it. I said this last week in the pod when we talked about it, and now I'm so over it. I'm so happy that he's done. I'm so glad I don't have to talk about him until next year. For the Dragons, I feel for them, but geez, I bet you they're sitting there going, thank Christ that that's over too, and that they can move on. Honestly, everyone's just sick of it, man. And we all knew he was going there. Like the Roosters piped up, and I'm really surprised that they didn't, like, it didn't get enough traction, that the Roosters didn't get onto him, because at the moment, I think that's a story in itself. Like, no one's signed with the Roosters yet. So I think that's a major story in itself that we could talk about at another point in time, but which I think we're going to at some point. But yeah, like even that's a story in itself. So I think what this also tells me is that underlying issue there with Ezra Mam, and surely something's going to come out there, and it will play the cards with that. I agree with you. I'm a little disappointed he didn't have any interest in the Dolphins. I would have loved to have seen him go to the Dolphins. I think he would have made a really big difference. And how much better could have Katoa been under his sort of tutelage? And thought that might have been a really good play for him. But yeah, look, he was always going to go to the Broncos. It got played out. It got delayed for a very long time. We're all over it. It's done and dusted.
100%. And again, you've mentioned it, but it's potentially a few positions that he can be playing moving forward. Might start the year, looks like, in the halves. And then who knows, however long Mam does get suspended for, if there's a chance he only misses 12 weeks, whatever, then Hunt may move to the hooker position. We'll yet to find that out. Jake, your thoughts around this Hunt signature for the Broncos? You rate it, don't rate it, things like that.
I think it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting one. I think I do rate it, because I just think that pretty much any team that he's going to go to benefits from it. Like, there's no team that he could have gone to that kind of doesn't benefit at all from having him there. And obviously, with the situation that Ezra Mam is in, having another experienced half coming in is not a bad idea, especially with that sort of younger Broncos pack. A bit of extra leadership kind of helps. And especially one thing that they struggled with last year was that Adam Reynolds went out for a lot of that season. And so they lost that experienced touch in the halves. And I think that Ben Hunt has a very similar game to Reynolds. Like, they can play quite a similar game. He has that ability to sort of be that commander if he needs to be, but he can also run. If like Adam Reynolds is going to run the team when they're both on the pitch at the same time, I think he's fine with that. But if Adam Reynolds goes down again, hopefully he doesn't, obviously, but if he goes down again, like he probably will, because he does most seasons, then you've got that experience to kind of lead the team around the park again. So I think that's definitely, I think it's a worthwhile signing. If it's roughly that they've said it reported at $600K a season, it's pretty good value for Ben, I think, to be honest.
Jesse, is there any concerns, especially early on for the Broncos year next year? And Jake sort of has touched on it. Hunt and Reynolds, too similar of a player, and to be the 6 and 7, it could be sort of loggerheads for a while.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's pretty much the point I was going to get to. It's like, you look at the two of them, they're both 34. I think Hunt's a bit more robust as far as it goes. I think there's probably a good chance that Hunt plays more games without Reynolds than they do together this season, just with the track record of injuries and stuff. So, look, it's a signing that the Broncos could definitely do with. Like, you know, they're in need of a half with the whole Ezra Mam thing. They're in need of a half because Reynolds can't, you know, string more than 4 or 5 games together as well. They're in need of a hooker if they ever needed one to come through, like an experienced good hooker there. So, you know, he fits the bill for all of it. It's just, yeah, when they're playing together side by side, 6 and 7, I'm very curious to see who takes control, because they're very dominant halfbacks in their side. And I don't know, one's not going to play second fiddle to the other. I can't see it happening. So I don't know, it might disjoint the attack a bit. It really will. Like,
And
you got one guy wanting to do one thing, you got the other guy wanting to command and do the other side. They're very experienced and they're very good players individually. It's just I just want to see how they play together because it seems like a very odd dynamic to put the two of them side by side. So, but look, realistically, man, I think it's going to be one of those things where you're going to see Hunt in the 7 more than you'll see Reynolds in the 7 this year, just with the body. So yeah, see how they run. But
can I reckon I can add something to you there, Jesse, for a second?
yeah,
Is one thing with Hunt as well is obviously he's had that Origin experience and he's had to play that second fiddle role while he was there. He kind of came in and played that second fiddle role. Obviously, he came in and played hooker. I understand that, but in terms of like he at least has that understanding. When Adam Reynolds came and had that crack in the Blues, he was still that general running the team. But when I think that Ben has had enough experience playing, like not being the main half in a team, that I think that actually hopefully might make that a little bit easier of a transition for him to kind of not be that maybe dominant player. But you're right. It's probably going to be a case of he'll probably play halves without Reynolds in there more often than not due to injury.
Look, they're both experienced enough where they have enough of class and quality about their game where they can someone can play a second fiddle very well. Like, it's not second fiddle as they're an inferior player to them. They're a complementary player to the main half. Like, they each can do it, and they probably will to each other at some point. But yeah, they're not. They're neither of them are spring chickens, so it's going to be quite a slow little pair up. But yeah,
it's a funny one. I reckon this signing, in a way, has now put a lot of pressure, huge amounts of pressure on a club that already has pressure seeping out of its ears at the moment. But in terms of a few different ways now. Obviously, the pressure of winning a premiership now in the space of the next 2 years with this addition of Ben Hunt would be almost sky high now. You look at their team sort of on paper, and it does look like a very strong side. We all know what happened this season and how they fade away, but surely that can't happen again. And the injuries that they had surely can't happen again. It puts a lot of pressure on their cap now because you've got both centers who are both looking for getting more cash. They're both on the open market basically at the moment, and it looks more and more likely that one of them will go. Now, I don't think this Ben Hunt signing has helped that at all, and it's a funny one because that's sort of, if I look at this Broncos team, that back line is definitely where they need to keep putting some money into, and I thought they would have gone out of their way to keep both Cobbo and Staggs. It just feels like now with Hunt on board for 2 years, not just one, that's a lot of money going into Hunt that could have been used to have both of those players happy with a good amount of money that other clubs will probably throw at him. The other part to that, they've now got 4 hookers on their books if you put Hunt down as a hooker / halfback. So they've got Moser, Walters, Pakes, and there's one other that I've got a mental Ben Hunt, sorry. And then you've got in your halves, you've got Jock Madden, Ezra Mam, and Chris Rogers there as well. So it just feels like to me, there's a lot of unbalance now in terms of those big key sort of spine members that they've just got so many. And they've still got their 2 of their star backs that haven't re-signed with the club yet. It just feels, I'm not sure. I just felt there's a bit of pressure coming in here for Ben Hunt and this Broncos outfit and what they're going to do now, because obviously it's clear as day that there'll be probably 2 players that I've just named out of those 6 or 7. I think in the next week or 2, we'll start hearing about releases and things like that because there's no game time, Trav.
Yeah, the roll-on effect will be immense, I reckon. I also really do agree with you, and have said a few times that one of Staggs, if not both of Staggs and Cobbo, will probably be on the way out because they just simply can't afford everybody. They've just signed Reece Walsh to a big deal. They've just Carrigan's another one. They've still got Reynolds on the book. Haas was another one. Yeah, I think I had one of you say same Haas and
Ezra got his upgrade.
Yeah, like it's just, but yeah, they just can't. You can't afford everyone. You can't keep everyone, and this is going to really affect them. They didn't need a Ben Hunt signing, to be honest. I think they had that. Maybe they did that because they see that Ezra Mam's going to have some issues, and so they've done it that way. But 2 years of a dude who's 35, going to be 38 by the time he retire at the end of this contract, to lose a Tony Staggs, who, he's a pretty bloody good center on his day, and Cobbo, who's 23 years old. I don't know if Ben Hunt would be my priority.
Yeah,
but in saying that, I think I think he's going to offer a lot. I think he's going to help them a lot. I think him and Reynolds will be able to work out nicely. I think they will be able to. I think they're both at that age and part of their career now where it just needs to. So they'll make it work. I think they're both good enough to make that work. So I like the signing. I look at that roster, as you said, Joel. It's a scary looking roster. If you look through that list, it's a scary looking freaking roster. But I don't think the long term gains outweighs the short term gains here. Or sorry, the short term gains don't outweigh the long term.
Jesse, you had something to finish up on?
Yeah, you mentioned that you don't think it's like it was necessary, and you go through the depth of the positions they've got. They're a club that was in a grand final 2 years ago, you know what I mean, and they fell off hard. But then you look at the reason why they fell off, and they didn't have those like fair enough, they've got plenty of players on the books, but they're not quality for a premiership. Like if they're pushing for that top spot, you're not going to do it if Reynolds goes out and Mam's not there for the season, or for a majority of it anyway. And then you've got to rely on Madden and Rogers. And it's like, well, you're not going to win a premiership with Madden and Rogers. I'm sorry. It's like, it's not going to happen in a million years. Maybe, never know. But this year, it's not going to happen if they pair up together. And then you look at the hooker situation. The three of them aren't at the level. Combine the three of them, you're not going to get like a Harry Grant out of any of them. Like they're not going to cut it either. Not to say that Hunt will, but for the halfback, we spoke about why Sam Walker was worth the money that he was on is because there's just nothing left. And if the Broncos are in that position where they're like, well, if we lose Reynolds, which is inevitable, and we're not going to have Mam, and we want to compete, at the top, like you need to make that play. And it's like, I understand, they've got coverage in the centers. I think they've got Karapani that can go. They can move. What's his name? The winger, the rapid one. Can't believe I'm blanking on him. Dean Mariner. They can move him into the centers if they have to. You know what I mean? You've got Piakura, you've got Arthurs. Like they have players that can fill the role of center, but they've got no one that can play 7, providing Reynolds goes down. So it was a necessary move, and at the end of the day, they're probably going to shoot themselves in the foot by losing 1 or 2 of the guns they've got. But I feel like it's one of those things they kind of have to if they want to be up there. But it's still very short term, very short term.
I know.
They'll be there for years.
Yeah. Well, one thing's for certain, I feel like we will get to this point this time in a year's time, and there'll be a talking point. There'll be a story out of this. It'll be either Ben Hunt in a positive or it'll be Ben Hunt in a negative. Either why did they spend $600,000 on Ben Hunt and they've lost half their backline or whatever ends up happening, or how good of a move was having signing Ben Hunt. They've just won the premiership. It feels like it's going to be one or two ways. There's no in between with this move for the Broncos. His replacement at the St. George Illawarra Dragons has taken him some time. They had to have some pieces moved in the puzzle, it looks like. But Lockie Ilias has signed for the 2-year deal. Obviously, Lockie Ilias, for those may have forgotten about him just because he was injured for a lot of this year, was the South halfback who took over from Adam Reynolds, was built up to be the next Reynolds, unfortunately, for a South team. Although it was treated a bit unfairly, in my opinion, because he went into basically a spine which had Latrell, Damien Cook, Cody Walker. He was always going to be fourth choice. He was never going to be able to play that dominant halfback role that you want most of your halfbacks to play. And he's just basically just up against it. I felt like that whole time he was always overcalled. He could never really play his actual game. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing him in a different environment, letting him actually play a bit of football. And I think a lot of people out there are bagging the Haas pairing of Flanagan and Ilias. Rightly so. Obviously, it's not a great one on paper, but at the same time, the way we've seen this Dragons play and their style this year, they don't need the flamboyant half 5'8". They just need them to get them up the field. They'll have Valentine Holmes, they'll have Cook, they'll have Gutho, who can do the flashy stuff if need be. I'm quietly confident that this is going to actually be a sneaky signing by Shane Flanagan. I just something about Ilias that kind of keeps pulling me in a bit. I just feel like there's a bit more to his game than what we've seen. Jake, I'll let you start with this one. Ilias, what do you think?
I disagree with you. One thing I'll agree on is that I do think that in the system he was out of the Rabbitohs, he didn't have a chance. He never got a chance there. Like you're trying to go up against some of the sort of most dominant, like biggest voices in the game, and you're out of, like I say, go against, like it shouldn't be like that, but it felt like that. He's in the same team as them, and it should have been like a synergy, but it never felt like that. It always felt like he was the man on the outside, just trying to get, some early ball so he could do something with it, and he just didn't get anything. That being said, the amount of times that I've seen, it was once or twice a game where he'd have a kick and put it up and go out on the full. And I'm going like, your halfback in the NRL shouldn't be doing that once or twice every game that he plays. Like, kicking game-wise, he has a lot to work on. That's something that I will say for sure. In terms of how he'll go at the Dragons, it's really hard to tell because who's going to be your dominant half? Is it going to be Flanagan or is it going to be him? Because, that's kind of a difficult sort of call. I think I don't see either of them as being that dominant. And if we're going to be honest with you, out of the two, I would probably have picked Flanagan to be your dominant. More, I should have probably played in that 7 role as opposed to now that Hunt's gone. I probably would have put him there, but that's a tough call as well. But yeah, I never really saw the hype. Everyone talked about him as the next Adam Reynolds, and I just never got that vibe from him. If he sort of was, I think he would have been a bit more of like a general at the club. I understand that it was hard, and it was hard coming into that, but yeah, he doesn't give me that. There's no excitement about this signing for me at all.
Harsh. You are a harsh judge, Jesse. What side of the fence are you jumping on? Don't worry, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Just remember.
Give me Madden and Rogers. Huh?
Oh wow.
No, look. Look. He went into that Rabbit side trying to replace Reynolds. Like, it's not an easy task. The expectation very high for a club that was very poor, and you set up to fail in a way. So yeah, reminds me of how Flanagan was at the Roosters, to be fair, kind of thing. So, a couple of outcasts, put them in the same team together, and you watch them flourish. Maybe, never know, man. He does have a lot to work on. I don't think he's going to be what they need. To be fair, I think he's probably a little bit of a ways off, but that's the half talent we've got left to choose from, unfortunately. So. Yeah, you let Hunt go and you replace him with Ilias. It's not really a first choice kind of option, but it kind of seems like it's what they had to work with. But look, it's a fresh start for him. You never know, man. Like he was out for a bit. He got injured. He did his knee, I think, last season. Put him out for the long term, or his leg at least. But
broke his leg.
Yeah, it's not good. But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm keen to see how he plays. I'm not very eager on the Supercoach side of things. But look, it's a good start for him. It's the Dragons. It's not the Rabbitohs. Admittedly, the Rabbitohs were not good. They're a club that you kind of expect it to be. So, yeah, I've got low expectations, so I can't really be disappointed.
I feel like Shane Flanagan is just cooking a little bit.
He's a mastermind.
He's just gonna have these two up and go. You know what? No one rates you. You've just been rated the 17th halves pairing in the comp. They're both, as you've rightly said, like with Kyle as well. They've both been treated poorly in the past, and they both probably have a point to prove in this competition. And why not go out there? Everyone's going, oh, they're going to come last now with these halves pairing. Go and do it. Trav, you're a man of wisdom. What's your wisdom?
I really like it. I really like this signing. See? I think it's up
2 and 2.
Yeah. We get the losers over this side. And,
I see.
Brady Bunch.
I'll say it again. I really like this signing. How much do you think he signed for?
Yeah,
peanuts.
Nothing.
Exactly. So you're getting a dude who's just given up his contract he had for 2 years at the Rabbitohs to come over for 2 years for the Dragons to replace Ben Hunt because they needed to get someone to fill the role. There's potential there. I mean, everyone spoke about the potential around that once Reynolds left, he was going to be the one coming in. Remember that was when he was 21 years old. He broke his leg this year, at the start of this year, and is coming back. So as a 23-year-old turning 24. So he's going to be turning 25 next year, coming back from a broken leg, and he's missed a couple of years because of injuries and bits and pieces, and he's just signed for peanuts. Like the expectation for him should be quite low because of what it is, but he's going to fill a really big need. He doesn't need to go to the Dragons and be a flashy playmaker and run a team over and like a general halfback. And Jesse, as you said, like let's be honest, like there's only 3 or 4 premium halfbacks in the competition, yet there's 17 clubs. So like it's, Ilias isn't going to be the worst, and I think he's going to play a really nice role, and he's got a point to prove. And I think also we need to understand or give more credit to the Flanagan as the coach. I just think I think this matches everything for what they need. I think this suits everything they need. They've kept it for peanuts. Let him go out and play and see what happens. I have no problems with it. I think it's a good signing.
The downside to the signing, I think it rules out them signing Daniel Atkinson as well, which I was really looking forward to hopefully them getting. So
the Sharks have said no.
Yeah, so unfortunately that's not going to happen, but it would have been nice to sort of see that. But sort of back onto Jake's point from earlier, I think if you remember a lot of the time this year, Cole Fleming actually played that halfback role for the Dragons, and Ben Hunt sort of went more into that 5'8" running sort of role. So I think it'll be more so the same this year or next 2025. So such a weird time to be talking footy because it's in between both, but in 2024 still. But I reckon it'll be a similar sort of setup. It'll be Flanagan will be the sort of the general now. He's been there for a season. It's the son who knows exactly what to do, the game plan, and then just have Ilias do what he can. I 100% agree with what you are saying, Jake, in terms of the kicking game. That's going to be a huge aspect that they need to handle. The good thing is, though, they've got Val Holmes who can do a lot of the long kicking if he's going to play like a – I heard an interview where he's talking maybe Gutho and Val will switch up in fullback a few times throughout the game. If that does happen, then that could be music to their ears. And whenever they're down in the 30-metre line, yonk the ball to Val, who will just launch it. So might be able to work. We might be able to just see a team that has a lot of different sort of tactics, I guess, in a way for 2025, which in a way I'm kind of looking forward to. I know the Dragons on paper don't look flashy and they've lost their two bright sparks and their big attacking points for 2024, but I'm looking forward to, in a way, to seeing their new style of play and how they do things. For the Bulldogs, Bronson Sherry has extended for a further 2 years, which he was already signed for this year, which means he then goes till the end of 2027 now. So effectively, he's at the club for another 3 years from today is the easiest way to say it. Good news. I heard there was a few clubs in on Bronson, but he wanted to repay the faith shown to him by the Bulldogs and giving him that start. He's now being rewarded for having a really good start back into the NRL after obviously what happened with him. So that's good to see. Good to see him get a bit of money back now and shows the right way of doing things, I guess, and coming back into the game. Jesse, I'll throw to you for this one. Bronson Sherry, good re-signing for the Dogs.
Hell yeah. Bronson Sherry's a weapon. He's an absolute beast, man. Yeah. God, it was a good signing. I'm glad it was too. I'm glad they re-signed him too. I never really had any doubt they wouldn't, to be fair. Like, obviously they had the faith in him. They brought him in after his long suspension, and he did good, man. He did really good. He looked like he hadn't really lost any of his edge. He was better than he was at the Sharks, I reckon. So, yeah. And considering, they've let a few people go, probably accidentally, hindsight with that O'Carr going and that sort of stuff. Like, he's one of their best centers now that they're going to keep, and relatively long, 3 years from now. Yeah, hands down. I think it's a great signing.
Yeah. Trav, echo these sentiments.
Yeah, love that saying. I'll pull him over this side and say he's not a loser anymore. But 19 games. He's in this 2024 season. He got 10 tries, 4 try assists. Like that's a pretty good outcome from a center who's coming back from the stuff that he did. Deserved everything he got for his consequence and punishment. He's lucky to even be back again. Well played to the Bulldogs to repay him for what he had done. I think it's a great. They've shored up their back line a bit with him in the centers. I think he's got a bigger point to prove over the next few years to come back and do what he's been doing. So yeah, I love this signing. I think also he just fits that sort of Bulldogs culture that they really built this year. So I really love the play for what the Bulldogs have done for him and what he's repaying.
That good thing about that 19 games you mentioned as well, he did start later on. They put him into reserve grade to start the year. So I believe majority of those 19 were back-to-back. So he was, once you got selected and shown the faith to play first grade, he basically returned repaid the faith and was great and didn't put a foot wrong, really. Jakey boy, correct. Your final thoughts on the Sherry re-signing?
Yeah, well, I mean, as the other two boys said, I'll agree with them that I do think it's definitely a good signing. When I first heard that he was coming back, I had seen some pictures of like the shape that he was in, and he bulked up a little bit to kind of make up for losing a little bit of probably that speed and that sort of thing. He bulked up heaps, but I was actually you probably won't agree with this, Joel, but I was actually really hoping he'd sign at the Eels at the time when we actually needed another centre pretty bad. And I was hoping that would happen. But when he signed to the Dogs, he didn't surprise me. Honestly, this season is what I expected out of him. And I think that he's only going to get better as he warms back into it. Like, he obviously played 19 in a row, I get that. But, as the Bulldogs, I think, are a team that will stay the same, if not get better next year. I don't think they're going to get worse. And I'm thinking that he's only going to improve with them as that happens, kind of thing. So, great signing, to be honest, or great re-signing, I should say.
Honestly, in the years to come, it would not surprise me if they're potentially the lead centre pairing in the competition with Crichton, obviously, on the other side. It has all the makings to be one of those really classic, great sort of centre pairings that can lead the Bulldogs deep into finals football over the next couple of years. That is for sure. Another big one, obviously, for this on the rumour side of things, not as much happening in terms of rumours this week that was sort of a bit more in concrete or a bit more reliable sort of sources and things like that. So one thing that did come out was the Sydney Roosters, and Trav mentioned a bit earlier, so it's a good time to have a bit of a chat about them, and got Jesse on, obviously the Roosters fan here, but they're apparently their big key target for 2026 now. They don't think they can get him for next year is Reece Robson. So they obviously have basically told Brandon Smith he's free to leave. I heard the rumors are he's basically free to go now, which I don't know if clubs will get him yet because he's still recovering from that ACL injury. So you're pretty silly to get him on that sort of wicket at the moment while he can't do anything. So I think that's the Roosters just trying to get something happening, which I'll be shocked if a club goes out and says, in the next week or two they've signed Brandon Smith. But Reece Robson is their big number one target, which I think was bound to happen. It just feels like he's a bit of a Roosters sort of player target in a way. It just feels like that's going to happen. Cowboys, the pressure's on them now to obviously re-sign him. Jesse, when you hear that as a Roosters fan, does it get you pretty excited? Or are you hoping they pursue with Brandon and give him a bit more time?
No, let him go. Get Robson. I like Robson, man. I want to see those tricolours on those massive pecs. You put a bloody beer can on top of him. I think you honestly fit the bill really well there, man. I think you'd be a really good addition to him. For some reason, I just look at it and I go, yes, it seems right. He seems like the kind of player they could really make the most out of. Good distribution. He's gun. He tackles like a freaking animal. So, yeah, I don't know. I like it. I really do. He's not going to obviously, like, they're playing, 26? Yeah, it's a little while away. It's a bit of a tease, I suppose. But, yeah, look, Cheese has been basically told he can leave now. I think I saw something about the Raiders coming out publicly saying they do not want him because they were rumoured to have him. Pretty much just ruled that out and said, no, we don't want him. Thanks, guys. And it looks like he's not going to have a club. So it's a bit rough. But look, they've got Watson, who'll probably stay in the 9, I reckon, for the best part of the year. And yeah, man, put Watson back into the utility and bring Robson in. I think it's going to be a great little spot. But yeah, a little while away, unfortunately.
Trav, I feel like in a way he's going to become Robson the most in-demand player in this transfer market now for 2026. Once all the quick immediate sort of things happen and we go back into that focus on 2026, they're all free agents now. They all obviously can negotiate, and he's just, I think Hooker is a position where apart from Harry Grant, obviously there's not much happening in terms of quality around that's actually able to talk to people. So he's just, for mine, just sticking out hugely.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, Reece Robson's a gun. I love him. The thing about Reece Robson that I'm a bit surprised by with the Roosters is Reece Robson's not a. In my opinion, Reece Robson's not a game changer, right? So he's not going to, like, Harry Grant can win a game off his own sort of, like, when he decides to, he's going to pick it up and he's just going to run. He's going to get a try. He's going to do, like, Harry Grant's a game changer, right? Reece Robson's not that type of player. Reece Robson is a very good hooker, but he's not that game changer. So I'm really surprised the Roosters are looking into him. As I said, I think the bigger picture is what are the Roosters doing? Because I'm just so surprised that this is what's going on, and this is who their marquee guy is. And is that because he's the only one around? Like, is that like, I don't know. But Reece Robson's played for Australia. Reece Robson's an Origin hooker now. Like Reece Robson's very good, so I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, I just find it a little bit odd. It's not the sombrero Roosters that I come to know, and I'm just a bit surprised.
Can I intervene
Jack?
again? Sorry,
Go on,
Jake.
Jesse.
Because while it's there, it's like there's only one Harry Grant in the comp, man.
That's right.
It's Daylight. It's Harry Grant and Daylight. That's the thing. And
Correct.
you look at the next best thing. You look at Origin. You got Harry Grant and you had Reece Robson. He's the best the Blues have. He's the best. He's the second best hooker in the league because there's such a massive gap between him and Harry Grant. You got Appy, who's up there. You've got Brayley's. You know, they're all right, but there's no Grant, so it's a very hard argument to say he's no Harry Grant. No one else is. So there isn't one. I think if you're looking for a hooker, which they need one, there's only one. And you get the next best thing. You get Robson.
I want to toss one out there. If you don't want to spend up on Robson, there's a guy at the Dragons who had a killer of a year this year named Jacob Little, who I would be going after. I don't know. I have forgotten about him. I should look him up and see his current contract status. But honestly, he to me just looks, he's screaming as a 80-minute hooker. And now with Damien Cook at the Dragons for a couple of years, I just feel like destroys it. I think the Dragons, if they had their time over again and could sign Cook later on in the year, after seeing how Little was playing, they wouldn't have. So it's a weird signing. But yeah, I'd be going Little is just someone who really appeals to me. Jake, I want you to start this ball off in terms of the Roosters and what is going on at the Roosters, because they seem like they have literally millions of dollars just in the bank, ready to go for next year. They've just got so much talent, and they've just got rid of Mayo as well. What is going on? Surely they've got something cooking in the background that none of us have any idea about, because I continue to look at the off-contract players now who are basically jobless, don't have a club, and there's no one around, really, that's going to change them or help them out. They've got Smith and Walker out for half of next year. Like, at the moment, and I'm not trying to joke around or poke fun at Jesse here, I literally, if I have to do a ladder prediction tomorrow, the Roosters are bottom 4. I have no idea how, at the moment, they're not finishing anywhere other than bottom 4. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's I'm with you in the sense that you've got you've got your two of your spine, your main big money players, like they're out for a good amount of time. And yeah, they've just got all this money in the bank, but really, who are they going to spend it on? Like, who are you going to, who in the off, I can't even think of any off contract players, but I know that I've had a look at them and I've just not, there's no one I'm thinking like screams like, let's get it, let's get out there. So I don't know what they're going to do. The only thing I can think of that they might even be doing is if they're trying to sign Robson for 26, and I know this might sound stupid, but I think they might be almost resigning themselves to, there isn't much we can do for 2025. Like, we kind of know that. Let's we'll do what we can with what we've got. And when some bigger players come in for 2026, we can just pounce on who we want. Like, just, signing spree. That's they might be trying to blood their juniors. There's nothing I can really say other than that. But I did want to ask Jesse a quick question. Who's the guy we're talking about right now? Robson. Does Robson remind you of Jake Friend as a player?
Not directly, but they've similar traits. Like, you're going to get 50 tackles a game out of him. You're going to get good ball distribution. You're not going to get a spark. There's not a lot of flair as such, but I don't really remember
Jake had
much
flair. Do you think
Jake
was really a flair?
No, that's what I mean. Like, they're not flary. They do a job. They do a job.
And that's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to say that I think that Robson signing is trying to get some stability in their halves. I think they signed Brendan Smith across, and I don't think he was right for the club. I don't think he was right for what they needed. And I think they're a club that likes to be very disciplined. They like to be very, like, their structures are the way that they play. They don't like to be as much as sort of off the cuff and free as some of the clubs kind of decide to be. And so I think that Robson signing I think the Brandon Smith signing in hindsight was a mistake. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I think that it was a failure if you look at it objectively. So I think that Reece Robson signing kind of brings back that stability to them, and that hard working in the middle, just make your tackles, get your service right. And we know that he can do that. So I think that in terms of a signing for them, and even if it's for 2026, is a really, really good one, because they've re-signed Walker for a long amount of time. So we know that he's sticking around. And they don't really have a secondary option for Teddy, so he'll be around for a few more years, you'd have to think. So realistically, and then you've got Sandon Smith coming in as a. Oh, you got no, who they signed
No, Sandon Smith is there, and he'll be. But the thing is with him, he's got a court case apparently on the back of his head as well, and he might be in a bit of trouble and might not be making the early rounds either. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Apparently, it's quite serious. So I'm not going to comment too much on that thing. But that's the other reason why the first of all the Ben Hunt part of it. Obviously, if you wanted to go back home to Queensland, then that's fair enough. But it was almost one where the Roosters almost had to force his hand just money-wise and say, we literally need you next year to be competitive. Like, I'm not trying to dig at it at all, Jesse. I'm not trying to get your bite out of you. But
I agree with you.
Can you, like, try and word it where there isn't, like, there's optimism there? Like, it just feels like, obviously, Teddy's still there. But my problem for Teddy next year, and, like, this is obviously more for season preview stuff, which we'll get into in a couple months' time. But we've seen Teddy in the past having to play that sort of role where he has to be the guy, and it affected him. It got to him. This was like 2 years ago now, where it changed him as a player, and everyone started saying to him, "Oh, enough's enough," type thing. So I just bottom four.
They're too good of a side. They've got too much quality still, even still with all the players they've had leave to be a bottom four side, but it's not good signs, man. Honestly, like it seems like then they might go into 26 with a war chest, and they might just. I can't see a club like the Roosters sacrificing a year just to get to the next one. Like they knew they had all these players leaving. We knew all season they were not going to be there next year. We knew Manu was leaving, Ria Hargraves was leaving, Keary was leaving. We knew that. Like it wasn't like it was the last minute.
Hey? Who did they have that was available? Who was available realistically that can replace those players? And if they're going to sign them if they're going to sign them long term, they probably didn't want to do that. That's what I'm kind of. What I said about the whole waiting a year, that might be what they're kind of surely trying to do, because you don't want to replace someone like Joey Manu with a player who's subpar but sign him for 3 years. Like you're stuck with them then. Like you've made that signing.
Look at the signings
Joey
that
Manu
happened
is Billy
this year.
Smith.
Look at Val Holmes moving. You got Cook moving. You've got Terrell May. You got Luai. You got all these players. Like the Tigers have more pulling power right now than the freaking Roosters do. So that's the thing that shits me a bit, because I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, it's the Roosters. They've got money to spend. Even when they don't have money to spend, they've got money to spend. So why now, all of a sudden, is it when they are in dire need to get fucking good players, there's just nothing there available for them? So I don't know. There's a lot of them. We went into last season looking at the roster and being like, shit, how do the Roosters even how do they pick a side? There's too many options. And now, look, they've whittled that down quite a lot. They can still put a good side out. Relatively good. They got players to come back from injury. They're like new signings in a way. Sam Walker's going to come back. It's going to be a breath of fresh air for him. But I don't know. I really don't know where to go from there, because there is still depth there. There's still players that are good. Like, the forward pack's going to be good still. They got CR Wong didn't use. You've got Nafahu White, who's going to get probably a big role coming into this year. You still got the Butchers.
Spencer.
You've got Spencer, exactly. And he's going to be a starting prop. He's going to be a weapon. Like Lindsay Collins is a gun. Look, Townsend's the back line. Well, realistically, you're going to have Teddy, Tupou, Mark on the other wing. You're going to have Billy Smith.
Oh, Mark, can you say it?
Yeah. Joel can.
Nwanga.
That's the one.
Nwanga. That doesn't sound that bad.
And who else is the other center? Blanken.
That
Michael Jennings coming back out of retirement.
No.
Yeah,
God.
no, is that junior.
This is a problem.
Awesome podcast.
Like,
I'm
just blanking a bit. I'm trying to literally rattle off an entire starting 13, and there's that many players have lost. So, like, there's still players there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not bottom four side of stuff, but it's not the Roosters, man.
And what happens if you get an injury or two?
Well, shit creek. Without a paddle.
You know what? The only thing I can sort of realistically think about for what's going to happen now with the Roosters is they're going to wait till the second part of preseason starts, where all the stars are back, and there'll be a few teams that have maybe, as we've sort of spoken about before, with the Broncos, have overbooked in terms of their numbers wise with their cap, and they've all of a sudden got 9 outside backs, and there's going to be a few that go, hang on, I'm not going to be getting regular first grade, and that's what I originally signed on for. They start to make some noise, and then the Roosters are there. they've got 4 or 5 spots open. They've still got 1.5 mil or whatever in the bank sitting there, plus the whatever else Jesse's got put away in the swimming pool lanes and everything else. So that could be their plan of attack now. They might just be sitting there going, all right, let's just get the juniors up. Let's get them training. Let them think that they're going to be it, and then just strike as soon as a player becomes available. Trav, just quickly, I think you got some news regarding the hooker situation we were speaking about with the little side of things.
Yeah, so in 2023, signed a 2-year or a 3-year extension. 2 years ends at the end of 2025, so he's got 1 more year left, and then he's got a mutual option with the team for 2026. So more than likely, well, it depends on what happens. But yeah, he's got a mutual option to last 2026, but he has another year, 1 year left.
And I believe with the mutual options, if it's in his favour, it's got to be the clubs have to actually wait for him to then say to the Dragons he doesn't want to re-sign to then approach, if I have that correct. I'm not too sure. Hit the DMs as always, guys, if I've got that one wrong. But that's basically it for tonight. Obviously, there was a big couple of signings, talk about a few little rooms and stuff as well. Just quickly, boys, I know it's a couple of days away from Movember ending. Is the Mo's going straight off as soon as that's over, or you both going to keep it for a while?
Both. Are you talking about these two?
Yeah, well, you don't. I'm not counting yours, Jesse. It's Jake and Trav.
These ones.
Mine's I can start to curl the ends. I think I might keep it till Christmas at least.
If I'm leaning back here,
it's not made my wife happy, but anyways.
If I'm leaning back here like I am, you can't see it, which means what's the difference? To be fair,
yours is gone.
the old snail.
Jeez, it's just here, isn't it? It's just on the side.
Yeah. He's only got it on. Getting up close made it worse.
It's gone. I've decided.
You know what? I'm just going to
just
quickly say, I don't know why I just had a light bulb. Freaking Dom Young. I don't know how I forgot Dom Young.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's no
That's
good.
quality. Because he's not good.
Yeah, that's a quality.
We'll see without Sam Walker and Manu what he does on the wing. I don't know why that just
Does
came
he
through.
become a centre?
No way.
He's too fast.
Mark Nwanga-Wingatasi's in the centre.
Yeah, 100%. There you go.
I love that. That's the first I've heard anyone actually try to pronounce his name, and I'm hoping. Yeah,
Perfectly do it.
He's actually got a sign above the computer with his name written, so we can just read it every time.
Is it Nwanga-Wingatasi?
There's something else in there, but I can't do like the certain sound that you need to pronounce something. So I just do the real Aussie way that really embarrasses me. So sorry, guys. Apologies out there. I just can't literally like do the noise that I need to make with my tongue, whatever it is, to get that sound out. So yeah, I can't roll my R's there. Like I suck at all that. But anyway, we might, I don't know, we might be producing something else for next week as well as the weekly live shows. I know you guys are out there listening to us quite a bit at the moment. There's still people out there that are dying for some rugby league news. So not just news, but info and stuff like that as well. So we might have something in the works. I'll let you know a bit more maybe over the weekend once we do confirm something, but maybe an extra show. We're only doing one a week at the moment just to get by, but we might be able to get you guys something else. But thank you for listening. Boys, thank you once again. It's been a good one. It's been a fun one. And we will be back bigger, better than ever next week. Don't forget to go onto the page for the ticket giveaway for the Origin jerseys, and also go on to talk about I'll come and message the page to get your You Got Rocks in Your Head League of Inches shirt just in time for Christmas. Thank you.